Do you stress meditation so you can die? Is that one technique you use so that I can forget about leaving Nicola Kroger's?
No, the meditation, of course, is to find your egos. Now, I don't say that you can die, and you never try to die. You will be killed. See, in other words, what happens is you progress along a certain point, and then, the best way I can tell you is tell you what happened to me. I didn't know what was happening. I had just beat my head against the walls. I used to stand on my head, and I went through the mantras too, but it was Om. It was very simplified in those days, you could say Om, or you could say Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. See? It doesn't matter. But nevertheless, it's the idea of quieting yourself or continually bringing yourself back to a point. But knowing what you're doing, this is the thing. Knowing that you're quieting yourself down so that you can sit there and meditate about something else. Maybe taking a book, meditating on a book. I used to get into theosophical books, because they had a storehouse of information that you could think about. But after a while, you become very much aware of your erroneous egos. You become aware of being a fathead, so to speak. And as you become aware of it, it sort of leaves. In other words, the significance of it leaves. Your personality doesn't, see? But the significance of it leaves. You don't have to be. You don't have to. It doesn't matter whether you're aggressive or whether you're beautiful or famous or powerful, or that stuff doesn't have any meaning after a while. And still nothing happens. Your egos may go. Your so-called personality sanity may increase. You may be the most well-adjusted person imaginable in society, but still you don't know the answer. See? So you keep on plugging. You may have little experiences, little revelations, like the salvationistic experience, see, or the eureka, the what they call satori. Boom. Oh yeah, I see this or that. But that's not final. You still don't really know. You still come back and say, well, I could have been kidding myself. But then one day, something happens. You get hit the head like with a sledgehammer, and you go down. You know you're dying. You know that there's no chance, no hope for immortality. All this stuff that you've been telling yourself and everybody else has been telling you has no basis in proof. The mind is extremely logical now. Extremely logical. It abandons all hope because this is logical. We don't know anything. And we find out that the people who pretend to know the most seem to know the least. The preachers tell us every place we're going to go, but when it comes down to it, this guy, he screams the same as everybody else when he gets ready to die because he doesn't have the confidence. So consequently, if you're projected into this experience, once you let go and die, then you become one with that which is.
You let go.
And you can't do it intentionally. It happens. It's just like you'll be walking along and something will hit you. We've had some cases of where somebody'd walk in the room and get hit, and they'd pile up on the floor, be there for 2 hours weeping or something of that sort. And in that interval, they would have a realization of this illusory world so completely that could never go back to the same, let's say, evaluation, or the world was no longer that important as they saw it before. So,
when the mind the logical mind sees that there is no proof in all these beliefs or all these egos that you thought you were, you let go. It's like a surrender then.
Yes. You. In other words, it's pretty hard to explain in all details. Some things are. In other words, if I were to say to you, you have to let go of the fact that you think you're running this universe. And how do you think you're running the universe? Maybe you're married and you got 3 kids, which I have, see? And so you think that, I can lose my house, I can lose my car, I can give up that, but I can't give up these 3 kids. Because I'm deeply ingrained as a human being, as an animal, to protect my herd, see? So consequently, you have to give up that importance. I don't say you have to shoot the kids, but you have to give up those children as being important because you don't own them, number one. You're a door by which something comes into existence, but that don't say you own them. You have to realize you don't own anything.
They're not you.
Right. And the only way that they'll be you is if they come into realization. And I don't mean they're going to come into realization through you necessarily. But so consequently, some things seem to be, we'll say, well, yeah, now I'll go for this. I'll give up my house, but hey, I don't think I could give up my wife. Or when we've had this, where guys are married and say, well, but the thing is that you don't have to give up anything. You just have to have that commitment that if the kids get in the road, you've got to say, hey, I can't dump these kids. I got to wait about 5 years till they get big enough to go out on their own or something. See? But still, that doesn't say that you have to stop either. But you do, regardless of what it is, as soon as it poses as a priority, you will not move until that priority is transcended. I don't mean that you have to get rid of it, but you have to recognize that if the time comes for a choice, you'd have to make that choice, because you will not reach the truth unless you want it. And you can't do it halfway. As I said, you don't learn the truth, you become it, as I said before. And you have to become at least 99% the truth. You can't be a 10% or 5% truth seeker. And people are mostly 1 hour out of a Sunday, which is 1 out of 7 days. So that's, you take 7 times 24 and divide that into, 7 times 24 would be over 150 hours. And you're only 1/150th of a seeker. And you say, well, it's impossible, I got to earn a living. It isn't impossible, because I did contract work when I got away from the research laboratory. I'd go out so I'd have more freedom, and I could work hard all day, and all this stuff would be going through my head. If you don't want some other garbage going through it, it would be good if you go home in the evening and you read a certain chapter from a psychology book or something, anything to stimulate the mind, thinking about mind. Examining the mind with the mind. Why, you may be working away with a hammer and nails or a paintbrush or something, and all the time this philosophy is going through your head. So you become more and more, not to a point where you can't think straight, but I mean that you become interested, that's all. You become more and more interested. You can't force yourself to be interested. You can lead yourself into being interested. But you can't say, I'm going to, I like that formula that guy's got, so I'm going to make myself interested. No. You've got to just apply yourself to maybe a routine of sitting down and reading something of a book, and little by little you get interested. You have to maybe start some sort of discipline, that's all, of reading or studying.